everybody, today I'm going to talk about the Super Nintendo. Now if you're new here, consider now subbing ring the bell. So I've been looking through all my console videos where I review them, and I've realized I've never done a Super Nintendo, which is kind of weird because I thought I did every one of my consoles except the handheld consoles and stuff like that. So today I'm going to be talking about the Super Nintendo. So yeah, let's get started. So here's my Super Nintendo. So backstory to this is that before the prices got insane for this console, I actually got this from a thrift store, and actually I didn't get it technically. My dad was leaving from his work, and there's this Ace Hardware store that's kind of like a mixture between that store and a thrift store, and he actually got this for me. This was only $30, which is cute compared to how much this goes for now. And if you guys have seen the prices of Super Nintendo, they're freaking insane. Like probably some of the highest prices for all the consoles that have gone up in recent years. So yeah, so I got this for $30. I believe this was like 7 years ago now. So it was before a lot of the prices gone up, and even back then some prices were starting to go up. So yeah, I got this for $30. This is not the best condition, but I'm happy I have a Super Nintendo anyway, because like I didn't even know I would get a Super Nintendo because it just like I didn't really consider it. So yeah, so here's my Super Nintendo. It's a little dirty because it's been under my game console setup for a while. And so here's the console itself. So there's the cartridge slot right there, and then there's the power button, or the power switch technically, and here's the reset button, and then here is the two controller ports, and then over here you have the AV port or composite, the RF adapter where it would come with that, where you would select channel 3 or 4, and then there's the power adapter. So this Super Nintendo design, there is a Super Famicom version of this, which I actually prefer that look more, but this is fine. It's not my favorite look of the game consoles I have. So yeah, so basically that's the console itself, and I have a couple games, well actually basically only one, because Super Nintendo games are some of the most expensive games for a console. That's why I just don't have almost any. The one I actually got a couple of years ago is Super Mario World. By the time I got this, it was already at ridiculous prices, but I got this from a place called Relics in Springfield, and this is, I believe, a legit copy, because I've always wanted legit copies, or I always want like real copies for my game consoles. There is an exception, like when I got the Ocarina of Time from a pawn shop in my Nintendo 64 review, that on that video I found out it was a reproduction. But I believe this is a real copy. But the thing is with this copy is that it's very fidgety. It only works sometimes, like it takes a lot for this to work, which is very weird because I even tried to clean out the cartridge slot for this. So this copy is just, it's very finicky. Like it doesn't work very well, but once it does work, I try to keep it working as long as possible, because this game is starting to go in price too. Yeah, that's actually kind of what I did for the Nintendo 64. For that to work is I just cleaned out the cartridge slot, and I've done this with the Super Nintendo too, and it does work most of the time. So that's one of the games I have, and the only other cart I have for this, or cartridge, is this. So this is not official at all. So I got this for Christmas a couple years ago, and it has 100 video games for the Super Nintendo, and it has a pretty good selection. So it actually does have Zelda A Link to the Past on it, because that game's insanely expensive. It has Mortal Kombat, some of these games I don't even know, Castlevania, Ninja Turtles. Yeah, it's not official at all. But the thing is, it's actually pretty decently like produced. Like it's decently built. It's alright. Like, and it has a battery save option too. So like if there's a game where like it requires a battery, it does save those batteries. Normally I hate getting these because I always just want authentic games and the physical games in my collection. But sometimes, like, especially for my price budget right now, it's just not possible because of how expensive these games have gone. So I got this. Yeah, it's not my favorite design ever, but it does work, even though the menu is kind of basic. But yeah, so it actually is kind of nice to have this to at least play some of the games that would be so expensive currently. So yeah, it's pretty decent to have this, even though it's not my favorite. Here is the controller. So I love this controller. Like, every time I play a Super Nintendo with this, it just works. Everything about it works. So you have the 4 buttons, X, Y, and A, B, and then you have the D-pad, select and start, and the shoulder buttons. It just, everything about this controller is so comfortable. It works so well. But the thing is that people compare this to the NES controller. People say that the NES controller is actually aged poorly, which I somewhat agree because it's kind of like that rectangular shape. But this is perfect because, like, I really like the, like, rounded edges. That's probably my favorite part, actually, is the rounded edges, because after a long game or gameplays with an NES controller, it starts to get a little bit uncomfortable with the hands. So this is really nice because it works so well, especially in like Super Mario World and stuff like that. You can use the Y and B button to like jump and stuff like that. So it's just aged so well. Like, I mean, like, you could almost kind of use this in like an emulator and it would still work. Now, I do have other brand controllers because even though I do like this controller, with the Super Famicom version, like, I do really like the colored buttons more, which I am considering getting a Super Famicom from Sendico, which I mentioned in Sendico in previous videos. But basically, it's a Japanese proxy website where you can get a bunch of Japanese stuff for pretty cheap. The only thing is with that is that it's very, like, sometimes the shipping costs vary, and I'm actually getting some stuff like a GameCube controller that's orange, so it matches with my orange GameCube. And then I'm also getting Super Smash Bros. Melee. But yeah, so this controller is awesome. Like, I think it would be basically the same with the Super Famicom version of this, but I kind of wish this version had the colored buttons, because I think it's a lot more vibrant and a lot more, it stands out a lot more. But this is alright. It's just the colors I think are kind of meh. But in the comfortability side of things, it just works so well. So yeah, so this controller is awesome. For anyone who also plays emulators, like, I would also kind of recommend this for multiple consoles. Like, for the NES games, you can easily play it with this. So yeah, I love this controller. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sorry if it's a little bit of shorter video, but I kind of wanted to talk about the Super Nintendo today. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace.